let's go ahead and move on to Epstein. We want to give everybody an update. Two separate things coming out, actually. One yesterday and another one today. Let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen. Jeffrey Epstein documents part 2. Quote, dinners with Larry Summers and movie screenings with Woody Allen. My personal favorite is Mr. Summers, who, of course, the former president of Harvard, former U.S. Secretary of the Treasury, one of the most influential people in U.S. economic history, probably in decades. And it turns out not only was he hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, he was even raising money from Jeffrey Epstein well after he was a convicted sex offender. In one case, he says, quote, I need small-scale philanthropy advice. My life will be better if I raise $1 million for Lisa. Lisa, by the way, is his wife. Mostly it will go to make a PBS series and for teacher training. Ideas? And it's because he wanted to raise this $1 million for his wife's pet PBS poetry project. Now, who amongst us has not had access to millions of dollars of our own personal wealth, but felt the need to placate your do-nothing wife's poetry, PBS poetry idea by soliciting funds from a billionaire? It's just from a pedophile billionaire or pedophile multimillionaire or whatever. Yeah. It's just such a common situation for someone.
Very relatable.
To be, yeah, very relatable. My
situation.
life will be better. Well, then spend your own $1 million. You know, you're living on a Caribbean island. You're living in Cape Cod, all these other places. It's just totally ridiculous. But what comes across in the new Epstein documents is not just his relationship with Summers, it's the fact that Summers felt so comfortable raising money from him after years of working with him throughout the Harvard tenure. Reid Hoffman, the billionaire venture capitalist, he even visited Epstein's private island in the Caribbean. He was scheduled to stay over at his townhouse in 2014. Woody Allen, now that one's a little bit less surprising, attended, quote, dozens of dinners with his wife. Yeah, I'm sure he did. At Epstein's mansion and invited him to film screening. Ehud Barak, we've talked about that a lot, the former Israeli prime minister.
But you know what maybe you knew this already and I forgot. He says he was introduced to Epstein by another former prime minister of Israel, Shimon Peres. So.
Oh, yeah, okay. You know, you also had on the list Leon Black, who was one of the richest men on all of Wall Street, with a former founder of Apollo Global Management, scheduled, quote, more than 100 meetings with Epstein from 2013 to 2017. Don't forget,
that one blew my mind.
Well, it's already come out through tax records that Leon Black paid Epstein over $100 million, quote, for tax advice. Sure.
That must be some good tax advice.
It's great tax advice. Once again, it's so ridiculous on its face. You have Jeffrey Epstein, who's not a qualified tax professional. You're worth $9 billion. When you have $9 billion, you have the top tax people on the planet who are available to you who are not convicted sex offenders. So, you know, like, it just begs belief. There's a new, report that came out just this morning, Krystal, that I feel compelled to mention.
Yes.
In one day, September 8th, 2014, Jeffrey Epstein was scheduled to meet with Bill Gates, Thomas Pritzker, Leon Black, and Mortimer Zuckerman, 4 of the richest men in the entire country. That's just one day, September 8th, 2014, well after he had already been convicted as a sex offender. Literally, in the 10 a.m. hour, he was meeting with Pritzker and Gates. At the 11:30 a.m. hour, he was meeting with Black. 2 p.m., Mortimer Zuckerman. 3 p.m., the top lawyer at Goldman and the former White House counsel, Catherine Rumler. 5 p.m., Leon Botstein. I mean, every single one of the people who I'm just naming here are literally, like, titanically powerful and rich people, which is insane, like, whenever you want to think about it. All of it, by the way, was actually scheduled to happen in and around either his residence or, like, at the Four Seasons Hotel. And I just think, like, it's such a perfect view into how all of this intersects. The last person who he was scheduled with was a, quote, philanthropic advisor to wealthy families. And I just can't get away from this, like, when you're worth $100 billion, like Bill Gates, why do you need help raising money for anything? You have more money than God. Like, you can fund anything you want 100% out of pocket. That's my point, though. That all of their excuses are BS. Yeah. They don't need help raising money. They need help with something else. And the question is, what is that something else? And that's what I would like to know.
Well, and the other question is, I mean, this is clearly not just him casually meeting this person or that person that hopped. This was a very intentional, strategic pursuit of people with wealth, power, fame, etc., connections that he engaged in as his job. I mean, this was his job, was to meet and understand all of the, deepest needs and desires and whims and help solve the problems of whatever wealthy, powerful person he could get his hooks into, which apparently was a whole lot.
All of them.
Just to go back to the Leon Black one, more than 100 meetings with Epstein from 2013 to 2017. I don't know if I have 100 meetings with my parents. Oh, that's like you're having like a weekly meeting.
4 years, yeah.
I mean, that blows my mind. And, he was pushed out of Apollo Global over whatever the hell was going on here. That one blew my mind. There was also,
That's 25 times a year. That's actually every other week. If you do the math.
And you're Leon Black. You are a busy, powerful person.
Right.
And you're making time for Jeffrey Epstein every other week?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
That is crazy.
It's only 52 weeks.
And we don't have more than 100.
Right.
So, it's more than every other week. So anyway, that is
fun.
Okay, so there's that. There's also a couple of anecdotes in this article that I think are really worth going over. One, they talk about this woman, Ava Anderson Dubin, a longtime friend and wife of hedge fund billionaire Glenn Dubin, invited Epstein to charity events to which he contributed. In the summer of 2015, Epstein sent her a, quote, funny story about checking into a California hotel with a young woman. Quote from Epstein, I went to park the car and the bellman said to this young woman, is that your father? He wrote in an email referring to his female companion who was then in her 20s, a little old for him. And this woman, this, billionaire wife or whatever, wrote back, Glenn, her husband, laughs so hard. What a hilarious joke about how young the woman you're with that they think that she's your daughter. So he clearly felt comfortable sharing some of his preferences with some of the circle. And there was another piece in here where
sickening.
They talked to this guy, Barnaby Marsh, who was an executive at a large charitable fund, the John Templeton Foundation. He met with Epstein roughly 24 times, often for breakfast at the townhouse, according to these documents. And he said so many of these billionaires knew him. Nobody ever said, watch out for him. He said Epstein convened people, including Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates, to try to solve problems facing rich donors, such as how to make large gifts. Epstein told Mr. Marsh that Epstein was managing money for Mr. Gates. Gates denies that is the case. But I thought that quote was incredibly revealing, that he's like, yeah, everybody just accepted this guy. All these billionaires knew him. He was part of the club. So no one asked any questions because he was in the club.
I just frankly don't believe it's that easy. Maybe I'm wrong and maybe I'm very naive. Like, as I come back to this, when you're worth billions and billions of dollars, every single one of these people, you have enough money to quote unquote fund whatever you want completely out of your pocket. So why do you need this sketchy guy's help doing this? Clearly, something else is happening. I don't know what that something else is. I will leave it to you to speculate. I am just saying, as you said, Krystal, you don't meet with somebody 25 times. 25 times a year on average. That I have great friends who I don't see that often.
Not even close.
Yeah, so,
not even close.
Yes. Ask yourself who you've met 25 times. It better be like somebody it's basically colleagues.
People you work with, your kids.
And your kid and your closest, and even then, the close ones, don't keep them that close whenever it comes to family.
Every other week. Who do you meet with every other week in your life?
And when you're worth $9 billion, so anyway, you can take that for what you will. We also have good news. The private island that he had, let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen, has been bought by another billionaire.
Okay.
Stephen Dekoff has agreed to purchase the two islands for just a mere $60 million. What exactly his plans are for the island, who knows? Probably he got a great deal on it because nobody else wanted it.
They said that this was half of the initial list price.
Right, yeah.
And apparently, the rumor is, or what was reported out, is he wants to build some sort of a exclusive resort.
Well, it already was an exclusive resort for a certain other people with certain other proclivities.
Kind of perfect that another billionaire, he sees a profit opportunity here,
of course.
so doesn't care about the history of it. He's just gonna go for the money making opportunity. Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.